Hey, what's up, my dudes? I just wanted to make a quick video, or not so quick video. This is actually a longer video, probably, just because I want to go in depth with something that I've been curious about lately, and that is the different traits in Skyweaver and which prisms have the highest frequency of certain traits. I think this is maybe useful information, especially for discovery players who don't have the luxury of sort of they don't have the luxury of maybe trying to counter specific cards because they don't know exactly what cards they're going to go up against. But maybe if they have a little bit of knowledge about the prisms they're going up against and the likelihood of the traits that that prism's going to play or that that prism's cards are going to have, then maybe they could use that information in a useful way. So based on that premise, I kind of wanted to dive in and see, yeah, which prisms had which traits basically. So I put together a quick spreadsheet you can see here. I'm not going to go too deep into the details. If you guys want to download this spreadsheet, it's a super simple spreadsheet, but if you want to download it, you can find it in the description. But basically, this is the raw data that I use to make the graphs that follow. So the first thing that I'll just mention is, well, it's kind of illustrated on this slide pretty well, I think, and that is that each prism does have a higher likelihood of playing cards with certain traits. So you can see from the chart, Heart is the most likely to have Lifesteal and Wither. It has more Lifesteal units and more Wither units than any other prism. Intellect has more Stealth and Armor. And that might be a surprise to a lot of people. I know a lot of people think of Agility as the primary stealth prism, and while Agility has a lot of stealth, it's actually not the highest. Intellect does have just slightly more stealth units, so it does get the title there. But Agility has the most banner units, and Strength has the most guard units. Wisdom has the most of nothing because it sucks. No, just joking. Wisdom has the most of nothing. It also has the least of nothing, so it's actually the most balanced, which fits nicely with the theme of Wisdom, I think. So if you use this knowledge and you kind of combine it with maybe a little bit of, I don't know, strategy around which prisms, or rather which traits are strong against the others, then maybe you could, maybe that would be useful. I don't know. So here's a little graph that I put together just to kind of illustrate how the different traits maybe respond to one another, or how they match up to one another. So in my opinion, Lifesteal, and this is all my opinion, by the way, this is a very rough sketch. Actually, the relationships between the traits are way more complicated than this. This is just me putting together a basic sketch of how things might kind of play out. So in my opinion, Lifesteal is strong against Stealth and Banner. It's strong against Banner because if you trade into a lifesteal unit with your face, then you're giving your opponent lifesteal. And it's strong against stealth because, well, stealth has to hide behind the face, so it's not protecting the face from lifesteal. Banner, in my opinion, is pretty strong against Wither because Wither obviously can't wither down the face, so you kind of lose the value from Wither if you have if you're up against a Banner opponent. Wither, this one's where things get a little bit more dicey. In my opinion, Wither's relatively strong against Guard. It's stronger than most of the other traits against Guard, let's put it that way. And of course, Guard is obviously super strong against Lifesteal. I just put Armor in the middle because, let's face it, Armor is kind of good against everything, so it was hard to fit it into that cycle. This is, like I said, it's a super, don't take this as gospel, this graph. It's just kind of a rough illustration of how things kind of play out. So if we take that knowledge and we combine it with what we were saying earlier about the likelihood of different traits in each prism, then what you get is a few relationships between the prisms that might be really useful for discovery players. But because that's a lot of information to digest, I think a good place to start is by just looking at the most extreme discrepancies when it comes to prisms and the traits that they have in their sets. So here I just put together the three most extreme discrepancies, and those belong to Strength, Agility, and Intellect. So Strength has very, very little stealth units. More like, not just slightly less, right? It's like compared to the other prisms, it's severely deprived of stealth units. It's not the worst thing to be deprived of, honestly, but to the extent that it is deprived of it, I do think, at least in my opinion, I think it makes it slightly more vulnerable to banner. Now, take that with a grain of salt. It doesn't necessarily mean it's weak to Samya or agility prisms that have a lot of banner. It just means it's weak to banner in general. And the reasoning there is simply you can't hide your units behind your face as Ada. So that means that it's much easier for your opponent to clear your board with its face. And if they have banner, that makes it that much easier. So in my opinion, stealth is somewhat weak to banner, which means Ada is slightly weaker to banner than the average prism. Next we have agility. This is another extreme discrepancy we find where agility has almost no guard units. Very, very few guard units, especially in the early game. And this makes it super vulnerable to lifesteal. Guard is the #1 counter to lifesteal, and agility has none of it. The last major discrepancy that I'll point out, and I could have made this list a lot longer, but I really wanted this graph just to focus on the most extreme differences. And so the last one is going to be intellect, and this one is, well, it's that intellect has a lot of armor. It has more than double the armor of any other prism, double the number of armor units. And basically, I mean, that means a few different things, but I think probably the most noteworthy is just that pings are going to be a lot less valuable if you're going up against intellect. You know, if you have zaps, for example, if you have just 1 mana board clear, or not 1 mana, but, you know, sort of like AoEs that just do 1 damage to the whole board, those are not going to be as strong against intellect as they would be against other prisms. So yeah, going back to the sheet then, if you are interested in seeing all the nitty-gritty raw data details, like I said, this sheet will be right in the description, so you guys can take a look at it. But I could probably make this video twice as long and talk about specific cards and specific matchups, but for the sake of this video, I think it's good just to keep it more general. And if you guys want me to go in more in depth and talk about what all this data means for specific matchups, let me know, and maybe I can do a series on it. Otherwise, we'll just say this is good enough, and we'll call it a day. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please do hit the thumbs up, obviously, and hit subscribe, because I want to upload more YouTube videos over the course of the next few weeks. I'm enjoying Skyweaver, and I'm enjoying talking about it. So yeah, strike up a discussion in the comments section. Let me know if you agree or disagree or whatever. Thanks, everybody, and Happy New Year.